Okay, today's video is going to be kind of a quick one. And the question is the damp wipe that everybody seems to feel is necessary when using the Turtle Wax ceramic spray coating or the Hybrid Solutions Pro graphene infused flex wax? Is the damp wipe really necessary? I looked on the website and nowhere in the instructions does it mention using a damp towel. But on the back of both bottles, it says if you encounter high spots, use a damp towel and then rebuff with a dry towel. Now that's an if. I did my car this morning with the ceramic spray coating, so it's not even been 8 hours yet, so I'm obviously not waiting the 24 suggested cure time because I wanted to make this video. After thinking this morning, I put it on so lightly that the damp towel was not necessary. So that makes me think that Turtle Wax is already anticipating most of the users of these two products are going to over apply it. If you over apply it, you will get high spots. It will not buff off easily with a simple dry cloth, and you will need a damp towel to level it off and bring it down to where it's easy to remove, easy to buff off. And that also got me wondering, does the damp towel adversely affect the longevity of the wax? Because the damp towel used so quickly after application has got to be pulling more than just a little bit of the sealant off of there. So what I'm going to do is I've already done the whole car except this half of the hood. And as far as time-wise goes, it took me about 3 to 4 songs on YouTube to cover the car. Hood, trunk, sides, everything but this half of the hood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate my new, what I consider proper technique for applying the ceramic spray coating. When my wife's car is next up for a wash and re-wax, I'm going to use the flex wax, and I suspect it's going to be the same thing because you can see the passenger side of the hood and it really doesn't look like there's anything on there. If you look at the overhead lights just right, you can see a slight haze where it's a little bit thicker than in other places. I'll pull you off the tripod in a little bit and show you. But from what I've found out this morning and after using this stuff for a good couple of years now, that it is meant to be put on thin. And I cannot emphasize thin enough. The thinner it is, the easier it is to remove. That means you can eliminate a step, which saves time. And if that damp towel step does hinder the performance, how much better will it perform if you don't have to do that step? And I'll find that out on the Camaro, but mostly on the Escape because it spends all of its time outside in the elements. Let me grab the cloth real quick, the spray coating, and I will show you how I am now decided to apply the ceramic spray coating. Okay, this microfiber is very cheap. It's very thin, small. And you wouldn't think it would have much use for anything. But as far as I'm concerned, for applying the flex wax and the ceramic spray coating, it's great. It's small and thin, that way it doesn't absorb too much, it doesn't waste much. It covers my entire hand, so there's no contact between my hand, or if I'm using my left hand, my wedding ring. Nothing comes in contact with the car except the soft microfiber. I think I got these at Advanced Auto Parts, a few bucks for a big bag of them. I use this, throw it in the soaking bucket, A couple days later, I'll throw it in the washer with some white vinegar and it'll be good as new. So of course, you shake up the spray coating and you use one spray on the towel. Now, like I said, this towel has already done the whole car except for this half of the hood. So one spray is actually probably more than enough to finish this off. That's it, one spray. Start at the top. I like to go in straight lines, deliberately overlapping the cloth to make sure I get complete coverage. And I don't just go over it once, I go over it 2 or 3 times. What you should see is a slight haze form as you pass by with the towel, and then if you're doing it right, that haze will disappear and make it look like there's nothing on the car. But that's not the case. That haze is the liquid carrier that carries the graphene or the ceramic or whatever polymers that are left behind to protect the paint. So the only thing that's disappearing is the carrier liquids. The polymers are still there. It's just that this stuff is literally microscopic thin. It cannot be seen with the naked eye, no matter how much wax you've got on there. So having the carrier agents vanish, evaporate, whatever, is no big deal. It doesn't hurt anything. So this is how I now have decided to apply this. Okay, I'm going to pull you off the tripod here. I don't know if you can see it or not. And I'm going to turn on the flash. So maybe you should be able to see it. But starting up here, you can see the haze. See that trail right behind the microfiber? Come down. There's the haze. And I deliberately overlap at least 50% or half the towel to make sure I don't miss anything. So really I only move it back a couple of inches. There's the haze still, just that one spray is leaving plenty of material behind. Okay, now the entire car has been coated. And I'll go back here and zoom you in to where it focuses anyway. And even there you can see it kind of. The streakiness, the haze, that's all that should be there. It's almost like there's a film on the car, which is exactly what it is. It's a slight film of the protectants. You should not need any more than that. I give it a few minutes, listen to a couple of songs to make sure everything is flashed that's going to flash or evaporate, and to make sure that the polymers have a few minutes to set up on the car. So what you need to get is a nice, preferably fluffy, but even more preferably a lint-free towel, especially on black. I could use a super fluff like this one, but being black and being as glossy as this thing is, this will leave lint like you would not believe. So what I've actually been using, at least as a secondary towel for a final wipe, do you remember these from TV? Called ShamWows. They actually suck, but once they're washed, they make a fairly decent wax removal towel. Or a damp towel if you do have to do the damp towel, dry towel removal. They work great as the wet towel for cleaning glass. So, like I said, I'll give this a few minutes and then I'll come back. You can see a little bit of haze there in the fender. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. Give it a few minutes, I'll come back and show you how easily it buffs off. But before I do, let me walk around the car and show you. Don't look at my fat whatever. You don't need to see that. But all the car has been waxed. It's got the coating on it. And just to show you here on the trunk, almost everything is flashed except for the polymers that are there for protection. There you can see with the flash of the camera a little bit of haze, but you gotta really look for it. That is the perfect amount of ceramic spray coating to put on the car to get protection. Anything else, you're wasting product and creating work. So I'll be back in a few. Okay, I'll go ahead and start here with the roof since that's where I started to apply it. As you can see a little bit of haze, not much. I've got this semi-plush towel, got it from a buddy. I have no clue where he got it. It came in a bunch of bags, like a bag of rags or something, a bunch of assorted microfibers. I probably wouldn't have bought them, but he gave them to me, so I'm not going to complain. The best thing about this, it is very soft, absorbent, and it leaves absolutely no lint. And it's got enough grip to it, or grab, that it easily removes the slight haze that's on the car. You know, my car really shows the flaws in the paint underneath this LED lights I have here in the garage, which is one of the reasons I do it in here. See, there's more haze there. Couple of wipes. Gone. So what I'm going to do is finish the car, buffing it all off. I'll do a final wipe with one of those ShamWows just to make sure everything was gotten, that there's no lint left. And then I'll pull it out of the garage and do a quick walk around. See you in a few. Okay, here it is out in the sunlight. They say sun hides nothing, but for some reason, in the case of my car, the sun, you don't really see much. I've got some rock chips, some sandblasting from all the miles on it, but I don't see any smears or high spots from not using a damp towel wipe. Come back up to the hood or the roof, same thing. No smears, no high spots. Give a shout out to my Camaro Club. The reflections are outstanding. Even the trunk lid. Hard to believe this thing's 11 years old with as many miles on it as it has. So what do you think? Is the damp wipe necessary? Based on my experience this morning and my experience just now again, I would say that at least with the ceramic spray coating, that would be a big no. As long as you put it on thin to where most of the liquid disappears and you're just left with some smearing of the polymer protectants. I did not have to do a final wipe on this. That cheapy no-name towel was just perfect for getting all the residue off the car. So now, since it's been threatening rain all day, which is why I didn't do the wife's car, I'm going to pull this back in the garage, finish up a few details like take care of the front end, which I couldn't really reach because it just fits in the garage. So I would say my guesstimate is that the damp towel will also not be necessary with the graphene flex wax. So that way you can save yourself a step. And time-wise, it took me about 4 or 5 songs on YouTube to completely buff everything off and make sure nothing was missed. So figure that out. I listened to Evanescence and Hailstorm, so add up the averages of 5 of their songs, and that's how long it took me to do this. Not very long at all. See you next time. Well, I guess it's later. Turns out I couldn't wait to try the experiment on the flex wax to see if it also does not need a damp towel wipe prior to buffing it off. This time I did clean the hood of the wife's car. I didn't have time to do the whole thing. It's getting late in the day. I get up at 1:30 in the morning and I'm basically too tired to do the whole thing. So I will do the hood. I will do the passenger side from this camera angle, and I will do the driver's side holding the camera so you can see how the flex wax flashes, if it flashes, and then we'll give it about 5 minutes and then try to remove it with just a dry towel. I'm also going to be using just one spray to the towel. I do have 2 new clean towels for this one, so there's no cross-contamination. So without further ado, let me get started. Okay, the haze is a little more difficult to see, seeing as how this is not black, it's bright colored red, but it is there. I had to put the second spray on the towel because being a new towel, it's completely dry. There's absolutely nothing in it. So I did have to put a second spray to finish the half of the hood. That and this sprayer's a little messed up, so it takes more than one trigger pull to get a full spray. Okay, oops. accidentally shuts you off, but I've got a fresh spray on here. And you can kind of see the haze, the same haze that the ceramic spray coating left. But like I said, with the color difference, it's a lot harder to see. I mean, I don't believe the camera is picking it up because I'm having difficulty seeing it with my own eyes. But as I wipe several times over, I can see that there is being product applied. Since there's a little bit more flex wax in the towel for this second half of the hood, it's going a little bit easier. But it's still spreading really, really thin, which is what I think turtle wax intended all along. I'm going to pause you for about 5 minutes. Then I'm going to come back and try the wipe off. Okay, it's been roughly 5 minutes. I'm going to go over this at a couple different angles. I can see some what looks like smearing over the hood panel. Like I said, I don't believe the camera is going to pick it up. At least I can't tell on the phone screen. Maybe if you're on a laptop or got a bigger monitor, you'll be able to see it. But let's see what the wipe off is like. Fresh new towel. And wow, is it slick. It is a lot slicker than the ceramic coat. Coming off a touch easier as well. I really wish somebody would uninvent these middle of the hood washer nozzles. They're a pain. But I'm not seeing really too many high spots remaining. And I kind of take that back, I do. So it looks like, at least with the flex wax, a damp towel is a good idea. Unless you want to rub really, really hard, and that's not a good idea either. So give me 1 second. I will lightly dampen one of those ShamWows. Yeah, because there's definitely smears on there now. I'll dampen one of the ShamWows. Give it a quick light wipe off and see how it looks from there. But looks like so far the score is ceramic spray coating, no damp wipe needed. Flex wax, a damp wipe is a good idea. Be right back. Okay, I've got the damp ShamWow, and as you can see from the water being left behind, it's just barely damp. And I like the ShamWow for the wet wipe because you can control how much water comes out onto the panel during the wipe. I'll do half, and then buff it with the dry towel. And we'll see how things look. It's still very slick. Not quite as slick, probably because the water is adding friction. Now it's starting to slicken up now that it's dry and I flipped the towel. Okay, step back a bit, and it looks like there was a huge difference in the amount of streaking. Sorry for giving you the finger. But there is still a little bit. So what I'm going to do is change drying towels. I'm going to go get my glass specific towel, which I was using on the Camaro, because it does not lint at all, but yet absorbs water very nicely. I will re-wipe the driver's side. Oops, more fingers. A little bit more pressure this time. Okay, now take the glass towel, and I keep giving you the finger, so I'll switch hands. And it is still very slick, even though it's been wiped twice after being freshly applied. Still very slick. Now let's check it for streaks and see if the change of towels made a difference. Oh, and absolutely no streaks whatsoever. If I look here, perfectly clear. Start to come over here where I didn't get, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but the passenger half still has streaks. So the glass towel seems to be the one to go to when it comes to this secondary dry wipe after the damp wipe. Set this here. Damp wipe the passenger side. Like I said, I'm using a little bit of pressure here because this Flex Wax seems to be a little bit more tenacious and stubborn than the ceramic spray coating. It takes a little bit more elbow grease. Throw this up there, grab the glass towel, and once again, still very, very slick. Okay, and so now this side is also streak and smudge free. Looks awesome. good reflections. So the answer to the question, or whether or not they need the damp wipe when used very sparingly, yes and no. So it doesn't look bad. A little bit more effort required, as well as a specialized towel. But I am very happy with these results. And I hope this video, as long as it is, helps somebody out. Thanks.